The most anticipated earnings releases for the week of January 15, 2024. Presented by earningswhispers. Earnings season gets fully underway this week, but it is still a week dominated by the financials. There are more than 50 companies scheduled to report results, and nearly 40 of them are financials. It will also be the third Monday the market is closed in the US over the past month, so earnings don't start until Tuesday. After this week, we will have to wait a whole month before there is another 3-day weekend. It is a common practice for analysts to revise their estimates lower going into a company's earnings release, and that is particularly true with Goldman Sachs. This time, estimates have gone from $6.35 per share to $3.47 per share, but that has taken estimates below market expectations. The stock reflects this though, having broken a 2-year downtrend line and is now pausing. A pullback to around $350 would retest this line. The closest peer to Goldman Sachs is Morgan Stanley, and they will report results around the same time on Tuesday. For most of the past few years, Morgan Stanley has outperformed Goldman Sachs, but over the past several months, that has changed. Still, overall, the brokers have been among the leaders over the past quarter, and that tends to bode well going into earnings. The metals and mining stocks have been among the laggards over the past quarter, and Alcoa traded to a new multi-year low following its last earnings release, and sentiment hit a multi-decade low. This is reflected in the consensus estimate too, where expectations are quite low, which creates a low bar for the company to hurdle. But the spike in December on heavy volumes suggests a bottom may have been put in, and the company's results probably mean less than the trends going forward, including operations in Australia. Shortly after Alcoa reports, we'll get results from Discover, which gapped lower last quarter on an earnings miss from increased provisions, but that miss was also expected. This quarter, card usage has increased and loss provisions are likely to have slowed, making the reversal in both the stock price and sentiment suggesting last quarter's earnings release marked a bottom for the stock, and earnings expectations reflect this too. Thursday morning we will get results from Taiwan Semiconductor, which already told us last week that revenue would come in above consensus estimates. That means investors have already looked beyond the company's fourth quarter results and are looking out into the first quarter and 2024. The company is a supplier to nearly all lines of semiconductor companies, but the quarter has shaped into a division of winners and losers, so what they say will likely give an indication where the group, as a whole, can go. After TSMC, investors will most closely be watching PPG Industries, which reports that afternoon. The company has tracked well and is expected to beat, which is also shown in investor sentiment, which is back near its July highs just before the stock topped, but remains below the level of bullishness seen during the second half of 2020 and throughout 2021. Energy has been the clear laggards during the quarter, and while we'll get results from Kinder Morgan earlier in the week, the company formerly known as Schlumberger will get the focus on Friday morning. Despite the decline in the stock, investors have become bullish going into earnings. Meanwhile, the regional banks have been leaders of late, but investors have turned bearish again in Fifth Third after the stock returned to the $35 level. People are putting money behind their bearishness too, with short selling having increased steadily since this past summer and total short interest having increased to a multi-year high ahead of earnings. Calavo Growers is a month late in reporting fiscal fourth quarter results, but the stock made a strong reversal off a multi-year low in early December. The stock has shown weakness for much of the past 2 years, but really this stock has been in a steady decline since 2018. It is much too soon to suggest now it is going to start trending higher, but following several quarters of double-digit moves and a recent 30% rally in the stock, option traders aren't looking for much of a move this time around. In addition to the earnings announcements this week, we should also get confirmed release dates from Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, and AMD, which are the main companies missing from this calendar of earnings releases for the next month. Still, there are only about 1,000 companies that have given official release dates for this reporting period so far. Shh.